Okay, so today we're going to be talking about an introduction sort of to ag sales. And in this class, we're going to be using ag sales both in class as our lesson and some activities, but we're also going to be using some of the techniques that we learn about today and for the next week and a half as we do our fruit sales for FFA. So make sure to take notes during this presentation because there's going to be an evaluation of how well you were paying attention at the end. Thanks. Here we go. So the ag sales is a 7-step process. But I want to talk first a little bit about what is sales. Okay, so the sales process is a problem-solving process. It's important to know, in which there's two people, a salesperson and a customer. A salesperson helps the customer to make a decision that will ultimately benefit them. We're going to use this technique in class and during our fruit sales, so when you go to sell to somebody, you want to consider what problems you can help that person solve and what the benefits are of the choice that that person makes to purchase a product from you. Okay, so sales is a problem-solving process. The first step to any good sales call is really preparing and researching your product. Okay, before you approach somebody or a potential customer with a sales pitch, it's important that you really understand the product it is that you're selling. Some of the photos I've pictured here are examples of agricultural companies and products that have been used for the ag sales contest in FFA in history. And it's really important that you not only understand a little bit about the company for which you're selling, but the products themselves. So for example, if you were selling Roundup, you would want to know what the active ingredient is that causes it to work and kill weeds. You'd also want to know a little bit about the history of the company and perhaps its connection with Monsanto and some other requirements that a customer may need to know if they're going to purchase that product. Step 2 is building rapport. So this is the first step that happens when you're actually face-to-face with a customer or potential customer. Rapport is the connection you build with somebody else, or the things that you find that you have in common and the relationship you can build with that person. So pictured as a Venn diagram, it says you, others, and then the center is connection. In order to make a good sale or an effective sale, it's important that you find a relationship with somebody that you're trying to sell to. So that means that you could try and find things that you have in common. Ask how their family is if you know them well. Ask some basic, not too personal, but important personal questions so that person begins to feel at ease. You want the goal of that interaction to be to get that person to trust you because they're a lot more likely to buy from you if they trust you as a person. So share a little bit about yourself as well. Okay, and step 3, determining customer wants and needs. This step is very important because depending on who you are trying to sell a product to, you may want to be highlighting some different features about your product. For example, if you're selling food items to mothers, mothers tend to have wants and needs related to the well-being of their families and children. Selling farm equipment to a large-scale production farmer may look very different than selling to a farmer who maybe only has an acre or two of very small production. Okay, so their wants and needs are going to be very different depending on what kind of customer you're selling to, and it's important that you try and predict what some of those wants and needs are so that you can direct the conversation in a productive way. Now, once you've determined the wants and needs of the customer, you're going to present features and benefits that you think reflect those wants and needs. Okay, there's a difference between a feature and a benefit. So a feature is what something is, and a benefit is what it does. For example, a feature of an umbrella is that it has water-resistant fabric used as the top. The benefit of that is that it keeps the person using it dry. Okay, so making sure that you're identifying what those wants and needs were, you find the features of your product and communicate that to your customer, but then expand by explaining how it's going to benefit them. Now, if you've ever had somebody try and sell to you, maybe coming up to you in a department store and asking if you needed help and trying to talk to you immediately, you probably had some immediate objections. Maybe you didn't want help, you knew you just didn't want something, you weren't impressed with the product, or you didn't trust the company. These are all very valid objections. And there are some specific techniques we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about when you handle customer objections, but it's very important that you, during this process, make the customer feel heard. One technique that is oftentimes effective is the feel, felt, found method, and it works like this. When a customer has an objection, perhaps they say, the style is bad, we don't like this product, you say, I understand how you feel. Others have felt that way as well. But what they found is that, and then go on to highlight a feature or benefit that reflects the positive side of whatever their objection was. Okay, so this is very, very important part, and it goes into building that rapport with your customer, making sure that they trust you. Welcome the objections. It's really important. Now, as you sense the meeting or sale start to come to a close, it's important that you initiate or ask for a sale in order to close the meeting. Okay, so as you notice that objections are either repeating themselves or starting to dwindle, go ahead and ask the customer, so how are you feeling about this? Or direct them specifically to one product or group of products that you think that would fit them best, recommend it, and basically ask what commitment they want to make that day. Okay. The last step, which I haven't included here just yet, is following up. We're going to talk about this a lot later, which is why I haven't added it just yet to this, but this is the step that happens after your meeting has ended. So step 7 is following up with your customer. That might look like calling them to check in. If they did purchase, asking them what they think about the product. This will help them to remember you as a salesperson and to keep positive connections with the company. And if they didn't purchase that day, follow up by calling and asking if there are any other questions that they had or if they were still interested in purchasing your product. Making sure not to make it a pestering sort of follow-up. Okay, so our 7 steps in the sales process were preparing and researching your product, step 1. Step 2, building rapport with your customer. Step 3, determining customer wants and needs. Step 4 is highlighting features and benefits of your product. Step 5 is handling customer objections. Step 6 is closing the sale. And step 7 is following up. So make sure that you took some notes on this presentation. You should be able to identify each of those 7 steps and describe them a little bit. And then we're going to start researching and learning a little bit more about the products we'll be selling in this class. Thanks for listening.